Often, we think of karma as a system of rewards and punishments. We imagine that God or the universe is like Santa Claus, keeping a list of who's been good and who's been bad, and deciding who gets rewarded and who gets punished. However, this isn't accurate. Karma isn't about rewards and punishments, it's a law of nature. The actions you take are like seeds you plant, and the results of those actions are the trees that grow in your life. Imagine this: all your past actions, your karma, which means action, add up to a certain result. It's simply a result of your actions. You ate the wrong thing and used the wrong thing in your field. These are the seeds you planted. This means that today we need to think carefully about what seeds we want to plant, so that they grow into trees and produce fruit in our lives tomorrow. Our actions today determine what we will have tomorrow and in the coming weeks. When we talk about predestiny or something being predetermined, it doesn't mean it was set in stone 10,000 years ago or at the beginning of time. Today, right now, is the beginning of tomorrow. Your actions, choices, and decisions today are shaping your future. If you find yourself with something in your life today that isn't exactly what you want, don't think about just magically making it disappear. Instead, think about how you can use this situation to grow and wake up spiritually. This is another important aspect of karma. We encounter situations that can actually help us take the next step closer to the divine. The universe doesn't see success as better than failure, wealth as better than poverty, or health as better than sickness. These are values we assign to things. When you find yourself in a difficult situation, don't ask, "Oh God, what kind of karma did I do to deserve this?" Instead, ask, "How can I use this struggle, failure, poverty, sickness, or challenge to grow and take my next step closer to the divine?" Ultimately, our karmic journey ends when we have experienced all the results of our actions, both good and bad. This is when we achieve oneness with the divine and attain ultimate liberation. So think about how you can plant the seeds today that you want to grow in your life tomorrow. Surrender all your karma to the divine and realize that you are just a tool in the hands of the divine universe. Now, when a loved one falls ill, passes away, or leaves us, or when our house burns down, we face these tragic moments that deeply challenge us. Of course, I'm not saying that losing a house is the same as losing a loved one, but these are examples of the difficult things that happen in our lives. It's easy to believe in a kind and wonderful God when everything is going well, when we are surrounded by love, blessings, prosperity, health, and all things good. However, it's much harder to maintain that belief when we are not experiencing those things. First, it's important to understand that this situation is not a punishment or a sign that God has abandoned you. Think about how trees lose their leaves every year. It's a natural process, part of a cycle in nature. Similarly, what's happening now is part of a natural cycle. It's crucial to recognize that neither God nor the universe is punishing you or your loved one. You don't need to look back and wonder what bad things you did to deserve this. People often misunderstand karma, thinking of it like an authoritarian figure handing out rewards and punishments. It's like the idea of Santa Claus, who gives gifts to good children and nothing to bad ones. But karma doesn't work that way. Karma is not about a list of good and bad deeds leading to rewards or punishments. Instead, it's about the natural flow of actions and consequences, much like the cycles in nature. So try to see this situation as part of that natural process rather than a form of punishment. It's not about getting rewards for good actions or punishments for bad ones. Think of it like planting seeds that grow into trees. Whatever you plant, that's what will grow. It's not about bad seeds growing into bad trees. Instead, what happens to us is the best situation for our personal growth and awakening. Sometimes things like failure, illness, or poverty are the catalysts that help us grow and understand ourselves better. These challenges can help us peel back layers and take the next step toward our awakening. It's important to see these experiences as opportunities for growth, not as punishments. Don't feel guilty or think that you or someone else did something wrong to deserve these challenges. No one is being punished. What you are experiencing now is part of the journey, and at some point, a seed was planted that led to this moment. Recognize this process as part of your path to blossoming and awakening. So the question is, now that this tree is in our living room, how do we learn from it? This situation is here for a reason. How can we use this experience to uncover and understand the deeper layers within ourselves? First, we need to have faith in the wisdom of the universe. Believe in the possibility of healing, not because being good will guarantee healing, but because healing is a natural part of life. It's easy for our minds to think that if we pray correctly, chant the right mantras, or give money to the right temple, we will receive blessings. We tend to put labels on these actions, expecting specific outcomes. Instead, focus on the idea that this experience is an opportunity for growth. It's not about doing things perfectly to get a reward, but about trusting the process and learning from it. Have faith that the universe knows what it's doing, and that this experience, no matter how challenging, is here to help you grow and heal. Remember that healing is always possible. Sometimes this healing happens through the body recovering in miraculous ways. I have seen many instances of this, enough to know that it's possible. Other times, the healing is more spiritual, happening as the body leaves us. We can't always predict which way it will go, but we can always have faith. Stay grounded and connected to the idea of healing. Trust that the universe, which makes seeds sprout and grow into flowering and fruit-bearing plants, knows exactly what to do. The same universe that provides everything for us knows the best way to help us heal. Hold on to this vision of healing without feeling guilt or thinking it's a punishment. Understand that this experience is in your life for a reason. Embrace it as part of your journey and trust in the wisdom of the universe. Now, how can you use this experience to get closer to God? Your loved one will have their own way of using it, but you can use it to deepen your connection with the spirit of your loved one. We're so used to connecting through physical presence. I know you're here because I can see you and hold your hand. But how can we connect spirit to spirit? To connect with another person's spirit, you need to connect from your own spirit. You can't connect a body to a spirit. It has to be spirit to spirit. This is a great opportunity to practice that kind of connection. When loved ones pass away, this challenge becomes even more apparent. People often ask what to do when a loved one has passed away, and the teaching is the same. Connect spirit to spirit. That person's spirit is still there, even if their body is not. Right now, your loved one is still in their body, but someday they will pass away. It could be from this illness, or it could be many years from now. One of you will pass away first. It's a certainty. So take this time to learn how to connect with their spirit. This experience can help you grow spiritually and strengthen your bond with your loved one on a deeper level. Use it as an opportunity to practice connecting spirit to spirit, both now and in the future. It's a good idea to start practicing now because it's easier to connect to someone's spirit while they're still in their physical form. We can use the physical body to help us connect with the spirit. For example, looking into someone's eyes can help you feel their spirit. So, as long as you can, use the physical presence to build that spiritual connection. If you're lucky enough to experience a physical healing, then you'll have more years to live with that spirit-to-spirit connection while still in your bodies. But if the soul eventually leaves the physical body, you'll mourn the loss of the physical presence. However, you'll still have that deep connection with their soul and spirit. By starting to connect on a spiritual level now, you'll strengthen your bond and be better prepared for whatever happens in the future. This way, whether your loved one heals or passes away, you will maintain a meaningful and profound connection with their spirit. Now, punishment and karma are completely different. Punishment is when you do something wrong and get a negative consequence in return. For example, imagine your mum says no cookies before dinner, but you eat cookies anyway. When she catches you, she sends you to your room. Maybe you're grounded from seeing your friends for the weekend, or you can't watch your favorite TV show. This is punishment. You did something wrong and you get something bad in return. Punishment is always seen as a bad thing. It means you've made a mistake, and now you're facing the consequences. It's a direct response to doing something you're not supposed to do, leading to a negative outcome. The same thing happens on a larger scale later in life. If you embezzle money from your job and get caught, you go to jail. This is a clear example of crime and punishment. You did something wrong, and you got a bad consequence in return. Punishment is straightforward. You do something bad, and you face something negative. Karma, however, is different. Karma is not about rewards and punishments. It's not about what you've done that's right or wrong. We've taken this idea and applied it to karma, even in cultures and religions that don't celebrate Christmas or talk about Santa Claus. We imagine God or the universe as a figure keeping track of our actions, giving good things if we're good and bad things if we're bad. But that's not how karma works. Karma is not about judgment or punishment. It's about the natural consequences of our actions, not a system of rewards and punishments handed down by a higher power. Not only is that wrong, but it's also a dangerous way of thinking. For example, when we see very wealthy or successful people who we know are crooked, cheating, or not living according to moral principles, we might wonder why they're being rewarded for doing something wrong. We mistakenly think of money as a reward and poverty as a punishment. We think success is a reward and failure is a punishment. We label things as good or bad. Money is good, poverty is bad, success is good, failure is bad, health is good, and sickness is bad. When we see someone corrupt being successful, we might think, oh, the guy who is cheating gets rewarded. Therefore, I should also cheat. There's nothing wrong with it. This is a superficial and judgmental way of looking at things. Karma doesn't hand out rewards and punishments. Karma works in two ways. First, it's the scientific response to a stimulus. There is an action, and there is an equal and opposite reaction. Newton's laws fit well with karma. What you do comes back to you. It's like planting an apple seed and getting an apple tree. This is the law of nature. Second, if I walk off a rooftop, I will fall to the ground, not because I'm being punished, but because of the law of gravity that pulls my body down. Similarly, karma works as a natural law, not as a system of rewards and punishments. It's about actions and their natural consequences, not about judgment or morality. If I plant an apple seed and get an apple tree and I love apples, it's not a reward from the universe. If I'm allergic to apples, it's not a punishment. It's just a natural law that says apple trees come from apple seeds. In the same way, in our karmic life, what we plant is what we get. It's not about the universe trying to reward or punish us. It's simply the natural response to our actions. So, if you find an apple tree in your life, it means you planted an apple seed or let someone plant one in your garden. It's not because you've been punished or rewarded, but because that's the result of the action. Karma means action. What we get from our actions are the fruits of those actions. If you love the result, we call it a sweet fruit, a reward. If you don't like the result, we call it a bitter fruit, a punishment. But in reality, it's just the natural outcome of what we've done. Karma is about cause and effect, not about rewards and punishments. The universe and the law of karma don't care about what you like or dislike. It doesn't matter what you find sweet or bitter. Karma is all about turning seeds into trees. So, if there are things in your life that you find unpleasant or painful, think about what seeds you planted or allowed others to plant. Then consider how you can plant better seeds in the future. But before those new seeds grow into trees, think about what you can learn from the current tree in your life. This is because karma has two parts. The first part is the results of the seeds you planted. The second part is that every situation you face is meant to help you move closer to the divine, to truth, to awakening, and to enlightenment. So whatever situation you're in, understand that it's the best one for helping you take your next step towards these higher goals. Ask yourself, what lesson am I meant to learn from this? What is the universe trying to teach me? Just like you can't move up to 6th grade until you've learned everything in 5th grade, you have to keep repeating it if you don't. Similarly, in life, you can't be free from the problems you face until you've learned the lessons they bring and stopped making the same mistakes. So if you're in a tough situation, especially if you're suffering, ask yourself, what lesson do I need to learn? Also, consider if there's another way to view the situation. Does it have to cause suffering? Is there another perspective or approach you can take? Just because your husband, wife, or kids were late coming home, or your loved one did something you didn't want or didn't do something you wanted, does that mean you have to get angry? Do you have to feel miserable or stressed? Many of us believe that suffering is the only response to life's challenges. We think, of course I'm stressed, of course I'm miserable, of course I'm depressed. And we reinforce this mindset with others. We say things like, yeah, of course you should be angry if he was an hour late. Of course you should be upset if he forgot your birthday. What do you mean he said that? What do you mean your kids did that? My God, yes, you should be angry. You should be even more angry. I get very stressed and upset when that happens too. It's normal, it's natural. But is it really the only way to respond? Do we have to let these situations make us feel this way? Or is there another way to look at things? We've all created a normal where stress, depression, and misery are common reactions to things that happen in our lives, often small things. Ask yourself, is there another way to respond? Could I choose a different reaction in this moment? Here's a secret I've learned. There is always an alternative. You can always choose love and peace. This doesn't mean you have to love everything that happens to you or every challenge that comes your way. It doesn't mean you have to say, oh, that was great, let's do that again. It means you can experience these moments without losing your peace, love, and truth. It means you can stay grounded in something deeper and more stable than just what's happening around you. When you do this, you start to break free from the cycle of stress and misery. You begin to see that you have a choice in how you respond to life's challenges, and that choice can lead to a more peaceful and loving life. As Bhagwan Krishna teaches in the Gita, the ultimate way to be truly free is to understand that you are just a tool in God's hands. Surrender your life to the divine every minute, every moment. Say, oh God, use me as a tool in your hands. When you do this, you find freedom. Then whatever happens, you can accept it with love and joy. Now, what's the difference between karma and dharma? They are closely related concepts. It's like asking, what's the difference between your breath and your blood? We can describe what breath is made of and what blood is made of, but the truth is they work together to keep us alive. You can't separate breath from blood and still survive, just like you can't ignore your blood and only focus on your breath. They are interconnected and both essential for life. The same goes for karma and dharma. They are deeply interlinked and work together in our lives. You can't really separate one from the other and expect to understand or live fully. Karma is about the actions we take and their consequences, while dharma is about our duty and the right way to live. Together, they guide us in living a balanced and meaningful life. Karma means action. For example, karma yoga is the yoga of action, a path to achieving union with the divine through actions. This is different from bhakti yoga, which is the path to union through devotion, or jnana yoga, which is the path to union through study and knowledge. Karma refers to both the actions we take and the effects of those actions. It's both the means and the end. When we engage in actions, karma, we also receive the results of those actions, karma. So karma is about what we do and what comes back to us because of what we do. What I do is karma. It's an action. The results of what I've done are also my karma. For example, if I plant an apple seed, that's an action, a type of karma. Later, when I have an apple tree with apples, that's the result of my karma. The apples are the outcome of my initial action, both literally and metaphorically. Dharma is a complex concept that doesn't translate easily into English. It's often described as the right way or the right path, but it means much more than that. While it's true that Dharma is about the right way, it also refers to the inherent nature or duty of something. For example, the Dharma of water is to be wet, and the Dharma of fire is to burn. Water that isn't wet or fire that doesn't burn wouldn't be very effective. Similarly, our Dharma is about more than just what we do. It's about who we are. Just as burning is to fire and wetness is to water, our Dharma is an essential part of our being. It reflects our true nature and the way we are meant to live. Dharma means staying true to your nature and fulfilling your purpose. If fire thought it was water and tried to be wet, it wouldn't succeed as water, and it also wouldn't be doing its job as fire. Dharma is about both who we are and what we do. There are two levels of Dharma. First, there is universal Dharma, which includes values like honesty, integrity, righteousness, compassion, non-violence, and generosity. These traits are considered the right way to live by people of all religions, cultures, and backgrounds. There are very few situations where you would say that integrity, righteousness, or honesty are not the right way to act. But then, there's also something called individual Dharma. It's like comparing fire to water or a rose to a jasmine. They are different from each other. A warrior is different from a painter. When we look at universal Dharma, both a warrior and a painter should be honest, have integrity, show compassion, and be good dharmic people. They should live with an awareness of who they are and not try to be someone else. Trying to be someone else often leads to unhappiness and ineffectiveness. Many of us grow up wanting to be someone else. We have idols we look up to. For example, when I was growing up, I wanted to be Jane Goodall. If you had asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would have said I wanted to be Jane Goodall. She's a great woman who has done amazing work. There's nothing wrong with admiring her. She's a hero. However, following her path wasn't meant for me. This shows that while it's good to admire and learn from others, we should also understand and follow our own path. Each person has their own unique Dharma, and trying to live someone else's life can lead to dissatisfaction and ineffectiveness. Many of us grow up having idols and ideas about who we should become. We see ourselves as future firefighters, police officers, rock stars, doctors, or engineers. These ideas can come from our friends, society, or things we see in magazines. Sometimes these ideas come from our families or cultures, telling us that being a doctor is better than being a painter, or being an engineer is better than being a violinist. We often hear messages about what careers are more respectable or desirable. However, it's important to understand that each person has their own path. Admiring someone or wanting to follow a certain profession because others say it's better can lead to unhappiness if it's not truly what we want. We should be open to discovering our own passions and interests and not feel pressured to conform to others' expectations. This helps us live more fulfilling and authentic lives. When we look at karma and dharma, we see that dharma is the reason behind our actions, while karma is the actions themselves. What I do, the actions I take, are based on my dharma. The results I get, the consequences of my actions, are also based on my dharma. For example, you might think that stabbing someone in the chest with a knife is a bad action that leads to bad karma. This is true if you're a murderer, but it's not true if you're a doctor. Doctors use scalpels, which are like knives, to operate on people and save their lives. Sometimes, despite their efforts, people die during or after surgery. So in both cases, the end result could be death. This shows that the same action can have different meanings and consequences depending on one's dharma. Understanding and following your dharma is essential for living a meaningful and purposeful life. But when the doctor is doing his job with honesty and dedication, he is fulfilling his dharma as a doctor. If the patient dies after the operation, the doctor won't get bad karma because he did his best with integrity. On the other hand, a murderer or robber who stabs someone to steal their wallet or because they're high on drugs will definitely get bad karma for their actions. So Dharma explains why we do something and who we are, While karma is about what we do and the consequences that follow, a doctor's dharma is to heal people, so his actions, karma, involve performing surgeries. If he performs these surgeries with sincerity and care, even if the outcome is not always positive, his karma remains good because he followed his dharma. Conversely, the robber's actions, driven by harmful motives, lead to bad karma because they go against his rightful dharma. There is a beautiful teaching that Puja Swamiji, he said, engage yourself in karma under the shade of dharma with an awareness of Brahma. So we engage in karma, ideally as karma yoga. This means performing actions with the intention of achieving union with the divine under the shade of dharma. This involves understanding both universal dharma and our individual dharma. Sometimes our duty is not pleasant. Understanding and performing our actions, karma, with the right intentions and within the framework of our dharma, always being aware of our connection to the divine, Brahma. This way, we live a meaningful and purposeful life. So, under the shade of dharma, we recognize that fulfilling our duty might be difficult and challenging. It might not seem as fun or easy as what someone else's dharma looks like. We might think, why do I have to fight this battle while someone else gets to sit peacefully in a cave? But this is our dharma, and we must fulfill it with an awareness of God. It doesn't matter if we call God Krishna, Amar, or anything else. What matters is that we are aware of God's presence and guidance. We should see ourselves as tools in God's hands, knowing that God is actually doing everything. We are not the true doers, but are blessed to be chosen as instruments for God's work. We should allow ourselves to be used by God without judging how we are being used. We shouldn't question why someone else gets to meditate, sing, or enjoy luxuries while we have to fight battles. Instead, we should be grateful that we are being used by God at all. God sees us as different tools, like forks, spoons, knives, hammers, or paintbrushes, and uses each of us for the task we are best suited for. Just as you wouldn't use a spoon to hammer in nails or a hammer to paint a picture, God has chosen each of us for the role we can fulfill best. We should trust that God has placed us in the right role and know that God is always with us. In this way, we fulfill our dharma with gratitude and awareness, understanding that our efforts are part of a larger divine plan. This makes our actions meaningful, regardless of how difficult they might seem. Now, the relationship between cancer and karma is similar to the relationship between anything and karma. Things happen to us because they are the results of the karma we have created. For example, if we plant apple seeds, we get an apple tree that gives us apples. If we plant orange seeds, we get an orange tree that gives us oranges. But when it comes to disease, it's not like we have planted a seed for it. We haven't been cultivating a disease like we would an apple or orange tree. Instead, the reason disease comes into our lives is to help us move closer to the divine. This is why everything happens, to bring us closer to spiritual enlightenment. Karma isn't just a natural law like gravity that simply pulls us down. While it is a natural law, the ultimate goal of karma is for us to be free from it and to achieve oneness with the divine. Everything that happens, including disease, is part of this journey towards spiritual growth and union with the divine. So disease does not come to us as a punishment. It's important to repeat that. Disease is not a punishment. No one should feel like, I've done something wrong, so I have this bad karma, and that's why I'm sick. Yes, there might be factors like lifestyle choices, smoking, using tobacco, eating certain foods, or genetic issues that play a role. But ultimately, whatever comes into our lives is meant to help us take the next step closer to God. When we ask ourselves, should I fight this disease or not? It's not really about fighting. It's about using the experience to uncover the true layers of who we are. It's about peeling back layers of ignorance, ego, attachment and identity, everything that keeps us stuck. By doing this, we can connect with our true selves. People who have faced death through serious illnesses or near-death experiences often say that they wouldn't trade those experiences for anything. Despite the suffering, fear and sickness, they gain a deeper understanding of who they really are, what the universe is, and what their connection to the universe is. This newfound perspective is invaluable to them. Illness comes into our lives for a reason. When it does, don't think about fighting it. Remember, our bodies have played a part in creating the illness. Even if it's something external, like malaria from a mosquito bite, our bodies still have a role. The mosquito may carry the malaria, but it's our system that takes in the infection, reproduces it, and allows it to make us sick. This means that the illness develops within us. So if you think about fighting the illness, you're actually fighting against yourself. We don't want to create a war within ourselves. When you're already dealing with an illness, the last thing you need is to also be battling internally. Instead of seeing illness as an enemy to fight, it's better to understand it as something that our body is dealing with. Therefore, rather than creating more conflict within, focus on healing and understanding the deeper reasons for the illness. Use the experience to uncover more about who you are and to grow spiritually. By doing this, you can turn the challenge of illness into an opportunity for personal and spiritual development. Instead of thinking about fighting it, think about using it to learn the lessons you need to learn. Imagine using it to help you grow in the way you're meant to grow. Think about it as a way to discover more about yourself. And should you get treatment? Absolutely. We only have one body, and it's very important. Just like when we're tired, we sleep. When we're hungry, we eat. When we're dirty, we take a bath. When we're thirsty, we drink water. If I get a cut, my other hand will come to cover and protect it. We need to take care of our body in every way possible because it's our most important tool for experiencing life and achieving personal growth. So make the most of every moment and every day you have in this body. But remember, in the end, what really matters isn't the number of days I live. It's how much life I put into each of those days. So while you're getting treatment and working to heal your body, don't just focus on trying to live longer. Instead, focus on making each moment and each day truly meaningful. Think about what disease does. It's like a mirror that shows us what life is really about. It helps us realize that life isn't about all the little things we worry and stress about. It's not about what people are wearing, saying, or doing. It's about my connection to God. It's about my connection to God through my loved ones. It's about my connection to the universe. It's about love and truth. When disease comes, whether it's cancer or anything else, we should absolutely do everything we can to heal our body. But it's also very important to keep a balance between our body, mind, and spirit. Here's something important to remember. Not everyone exposed to a disease will get it. For example, many people bitten by a mosquito carrying malaria will get malaria, but not everyone. Some people have a gene that makes them more likely to get cancer, but not all of them will actually get it. In many cases, less than half will. Even if there's a 30% or 40% chance of getting cancer, it means 60% or 70% of people in the same situation won't get it. We often hear statistics about risk, like if you eat certain foods or have certain genes, you might get a disease, but that doesn't mean everyone will. There are many people who don't. The question is, why? The field of epigenetics is giving us amazing information about how our environment affects our genes. The environment for our genes is our blood, where our cells live. What goes into our blood? Of course, the food we eat, vitamins we take, any drugs or alcohol we consume, and nicotine if we smoke. But there's more. Our blood also carries stress hormones and chemicals related to our emotions. Scientists have found receptors for these emotional chemicals in our bodies. So, it's not just about the physical things we consume, but also about our emotional and mental state. Keeping a healthy balance in body, mind, and spirit is crucial. Neurotransmitters are chemicals in the brain, and hormones travel through the bloodstream. We used to think neurotransmitters were only in the brain, helping brain cells talk to each other. But now, scientists have found that cells in the immune system also have receptors for these emotional neurotransmitters. This discovery is huge because it means our emotions, which we thought were only in our brain, can affect our immune system cells, which move through our blood. So the environment our cells live in is very important. It's not just about genetics or what's inside the cell. The environment around the cell plays a big role in whether genes are turned on or off. Just having a gene for something, like a disease, doesn't mean it will definitely show up. And doing certain things doesn't always lead to predictable outcomes. Our emotions and the environment they create inside our bodies can impact our health significantly. Of course, this doesn't mean it's okay to smoke or eat junk food, but it does mean you should never lose hope or give up. Even if you've been given a diagnosis, it's important to keep fighting. If a doctor tells you you have an 80% chance of dying, that means you still have a 20% chance of surviving. That's a big deal. From what I know, most cancer statistics don't go as high as 80% chance of dying. It's usually around 50% or 40%. So instead of focusing on the chance of dying or what might not work, focus on how to be one of the people who survive. Whether it's a 5%, 10% or 50% survival rate, aim to be part of that group. Ask yourself, how can I be one of those people who don't get the disease despite having the gene for it? Focus on what you can do to increase your chances of being in the group that beats the odds. And that's where our lifestyle choices come in. It's important to eat healthy food, exercise and avoid toxins by eating organic food and breathing clean air. But just as important is our inner environment. If we eat healthy food but have negative thoughts and emotions, it can still harm us. So whether you want to prevent illness, heal from it, or just live a more meaningful life, your spiritual connection is very important. Remember, our thoughts and emotions shape our world, both inside and out. One last thing. If you have cancer, don't blame yourself. Don't think, I did this to myself by thinking the wrong things or being too stressed. It doesn't matter why you got it. What matters is what you do now. Instead of wondering why, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What changes do I need to make? What is this illness here to teach me? How can I heal my body, mind, thoughts, emotions, and spirit? Now, how can we free ourselves from the karma of our past that is affecting us now and will affect our future? Unfortunately, we can't go back and change our past. But the power of grace, surrender, and true awareness is so strong that it can actually erase even the past karma that is affecting us now and will affect us in the future. What's most important is to stop creating more karma. The karma I've already created is happening, but right now I'm creating more with everything I do. Karma means action. We often use the word to refer to the results we get, but that's not correct. Karma literally means the actions we take. The results we get are the fruits of those actions. So everything I do will bring a reaction. Some reactions will be pleasant, which we often call good karma. Others will be unpleasant, which we call bad karma. But the truth is, it's neither good nor bad. The universe doesn't label things as good or bad. It doesn't prefer wealth over poverty, success over failure. The universe loves the dry season as much as the rainy season, cold weather as much as warm weather, old age as much as youth, grey hair as much as black hair. The universe has no preferences. We are the ones with preferences. We see poverty and failure as bad karma and think, you must have done something wrong and are being punished. But that's not true. It's just like science. If you plant an apple seed, you'll get an apple tree. If you plant an orange seed, you'll get an orange tree. Karma works the same way. Actions lead to results, but these results don't cancel each other out. Each action and its result are independent. If in the past I've done things that are bringing me unpleasant results now and will do so in the future, I might think, I'll just do a lot of good things now to cancel out the bad. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. It's not like a bank account where deposits cancel out withdrawals. We have to keep coming back in new bodies, living through birth and death until our karmic account is balanced. The question then is, if doing bad things brings negative karma and doing good things brings positive karma, both still keep me coming back. While it might be nicer to come back to enjoy the good results, The ultimate goal is not to have to come back at all. It's not our bodies that keep us stuck in this cycle, but our minds. Do everything as if we are tools in His hands without thinking we are the ones doing it. We should stop thinking it's about us and that we are the stars of the show. It's not about us. We are not the doers. He is the doer. We should fully surrender and let Him work through us. The only way to free ourselves is to allow the divine to work through us. Our prayer should be, "Oh God, use me, use every breath and every moment of mine." In the prayer of St. Francis, which says, "O Lord, make me an instrument of your mercy. Where there is hatred, let me sow love," he continues with similar thoughts. The teachings are the same. Let us be tools or instruments in the hands of God. It doesn't matter what religion you follow. You don't need to change your religion. It's about being a tool in the hands of the divine and letting everything we do, think and say be used for divine purposes. When we can let go of our attachments and the sense of me and mine, when we stop thinking about what's in it for us or why no one appreciates us and just be a tool, we start to free ourselves from the burdens we accumulate in life. This is how we can truly break free. Now, it's a natural and scientific rule that whatever we put into the world, we get back. If we plant seeds, those seeds grow into trees in our garden, and we will eat the fruits from those trees. This is the law of nature, science, and karma. However, it isn't always as straightforward as a boomerang effect. For example, if I hit someone, they might not hit me back right away. If I lie to someone, they might not lie to me immediately. Or in a more serious case, if someone sexually abuses another person, it doesn't always mean they will be sexually abused in return. But it is still karma. Karma means that the energy we put out into the world will come back to us. If we create negative energy by hurting or exploiting others, taking away their power or freedom, or treating them unfairly, that negative energy will return to us. In the example given, the person who asked the question had sexually abused someone else, and a few years later, they were sexually abused themselves. This is a clear and direct example of karma. So while the effects of our actions might not always be immediate or obvious, the principle remains the same. The negative actions we take will eventually come back to affect us. This is how karma works. A lot of times, karma isn't straightforward. For example, if someone takes advantage of another person, abuses them, and behaves immorally, it doesn't always mean they will experience the exact same thing a few years later. The law of karma can work in subtle ways. If I plant seeds of harm, abuse, and violation, those seeds will grow in my life. It might not come back to me in the exact same way I hurt someone else, but it will come back. Just like if you plant an apple seed, you'll eventually get an apple tree. So if someone engages in bad behavior, they might not face the same actions done to them, but the negative energy they created will return in some form. It could affect their relationships, their peace of mind, or other areas of their life. Karma ensures that the energy we put into the world, whether good or bad, will come back to us. When we think about karma, it's helpful because it can explain why things happen to us. For example, if something bad happens now, it might be because of something I did in the past. If I have a stomachache now, it could be because I ate too many sweets 5 minutes ago. But sometimes the reasons go back many years. Maybe the stomachache is because of anxiety, and the anxiety started from something that happened a long time ago. Karma works in different ways in our lives. Sometimes it's immediate, like getting a stomachache right after eating too many sweets. Other times it's more subtle. It can be like a rushing river that quickly sweeps you away, or like a slow, gentle stream that you don't notice at first. You might only realize its effects much later. This shows that karma can act fast, or take a long time to show its effects, but it always comes back to us in some way. Understanding karma serves several purposes. First, it helps us find explanations. It helps us understand why we are in a particular situation today. We can ask ourselves, what did I do in the past that led to this moment? This could involve recent actions, things from a few years ago, or even events from a long time ago. Usually it's a mix of all these past events that shape our present. Second, knowing about karma helps us plan for the future. If we understand that our current situation is due to past actions, we can make better choices to create a better future. For example, if someone does something wrong, like the person who asked the question and had sexually abused someone, they know they have done something harmful. One option is to just wait for karma to catch up with them. It's like in the movies when you hear the suspenseful music and know something is going to happen, but you don't know what or when. You just know that your actions will bring consequences. By understanding karma, we can see the link between our past actions and our present situation. This helps us to make better choices moving forward, knowing that everything we do now will affect our future. Another, much more proactive way to handle karma is to find ways to lessen its impact. If you realize you've done something wrong and it will bring unpleasant consequences, you can ask, what can I do to lessen this? We can't undo the past, just like we can't put an arrow back into the bow once it's been shot. But we can take actions to improve the situation. We can do good deeds, engage in spiritual practices, and seek true repentance and transformation. The law of karma is not about punishment. It's not about saying, you've been bad, so let me punish you. Instead, it's about understanding that our actions, often done out of ignorance, have consequences. The universe's goal is not to punish us, but to help us wake up and realize the truth of who we are. When we harm others or engage in behaviors driven by power, lust, or greed, we are living on a superficial level. We are identified with our body and its reactions, living like puppets controlled by chemistry and electricity. To truly transform, we need to rise above this and understand our deeper nature. By doing good and seeking genuine change, we can mitigate the negative effects of our past actions and grow spiritually. The best way to lessen the effects of bad karma is to practice deep spirituality so that you never act in harmful ways again. You need to become so aware of your own wholeness, perfection, and divinity that the idea of hurting yourself or others becomes impossible. Everything you do, from what you eat to what you buy, wear, say, and how you live, should reflect this awareness. This way, you become a positive force in the world. Don't just wait for karma to catch up with you. If you know you've done something wrong, make amends as much as you can. Apologize sincerely to the person you harmed. But more importantly, understand and eliminate the ignorance that led you to do the wrong thing in the first place. By doing this, you ensure that such harmful actions never happen again. This is the awareness the universe wants you to have, knowing your true divine self so fully that harming yourself or others is unthinkable. Through your actions and choices, you can become a beautiful asset to creation and live in harmony with the world. Now, is it possible that the way I sometimes react to people is their karma, and not just because I'm in a bad mood? We are not the karmic police. The law of karma doesn't need us to give people what they deserve. So, you should never think that your actions are giving someone their karma. The reason is we can't see the whole picture. You might see one action from someone, but karma literally means action. When we talk about getting karma, it's actually about getting the results of karma. Karma means action, and the results of those actions are what we receive. Dishing out what people are due is not our job. That's the universe's role. So don't worry about someone else's karma or what they deserve. Focus on your own karma, meaning your own actions, and think about what results you will get from them. If you react badly to someone, it is connected to their karma too. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in your life. Everyone we interact with, like our colleagues, loved ones, and family members, is there for a reason. We come into this world and choose our path. Some choices are made consciously, deciding how we want to live our lives with the universe. Some choices are made even before we are born. We choose the families we are born into and the way we enter the world because of our karma. Karma is not just about rewards and punishments. It's not that someone must have done something bad, which is why you got mad at them. You can't justify losing your temper by thinking they deserved it. We must take responsibility for our actions and control our reactions, understanding that everyone is in our lives for a reason linked to our karmic journey. We choose our lives, the paths we walk, and the families we come into because they help us grow spiritually. For example, you might see someone who is very rich and think, I wish I were that lucky and had done whatever good karma they did to get so much money. Or you might see someone who is very beautiful, handsome, or successful and think, they must have done some really good karma to deserve this. The law of karma doesn't give out rewards and punishments based on preferences like being fat or thin, dark or fair, tall or short, married or unmarried, with children or without children. Karma is about what we need for our spiritual growth, not about luck or deserving more or less based on our actions alone. The law of karma doesn't work like getting a reward for being good or a promotion at work. It's not like your boss noticing your hard work and giving you a special package. Instead, karma is about getting the results of what we've done in the past. But there's more to it. Sometimes what we receive through karma is also meant to help us grow and move forward. It's like life giving us exactly what we need to peel back our layers and understand ourselves better. This process brings us closer to our ultimate awareness or enlightenment. Karma can show up in many ways. It might come through good health or sickness, success or failure, love or heartbreak. It can happen within different types of families or environments. The important thing to remember is that our karmic package consists of two main things: the direct results of our past actions and the situations that are best for our personal growth and next steps. Let's put aside thinking about others for a moment and focus on your own karma. What you experience in life isn't about getting rewards or punishments. It's not about people being nice or fair to you. Instead, what you get is what the universe, using its own complex way of calculating, believes is best for your growth and next steps. If your karma shows up as good health, that's great. If it shows up as sickness, then it's time to ask yourself, what am I supposed to learn from this? What steps should I take now? The sickness might be related to actions from your past, like seeds you planted a long time ago, but that doesn't mean you should blame yourself. Your experiences, whether positive or challenging, are meant to help you grow and move forward. The key is to look at them as opportunities to learn and take the next step on your journey. Many times we blame ourselves when things go wrong. We think, I must have done something bad, that's why I'm sick or failing. But it's not about being wrong or right. It's just the result of the seeds we've planted in the past. These results are neither good nor bad, they simply are. When faced with these results, the important question to ask is, what step should I take now? What part of me needs to be uncovered or understood? How can I use this situation to gain deeper and higher awareness? Remember, the universe doesn't give out rewards and punishments like Santa Claus. As kids, we're told that Santa knows if we've been good or bad, and we often apply that idea to God or the laws of karma. But God isn't Santa Claus, and karma isn't about keeping score. There's no one sitting there judging us and deciding if we've been good or bad and what we should get. Instead, what we receive is meant to help us grow. The universe is providing us with the experiences that are best for our personal development. Each situation, whether pleasant or challenging, is an opportunity to learn and move closer to our true awareness. So don't blame yourself. Focus on what you can learn and how you can grow from each experience. God is always there, calling you to come into awareness. If God could speak, it would say, "Come to me. Find me within yourself. Come into awareness." That's the main message. The law of karma helps you take the next step towards that awareness. If what you're experiencing is unpleasant or difficult, ask yourself first, when did I plant the seed for this, and how can I avoid planting it again? Imagine you have an apple tree in your yard, but you're allergic to apples, and they cause you to break out in hives. At some point, you or someone else planted that apple seed. To prevent this in the future, you need to be mindful of the seeds you plant. But now that you have this apple tree, even though it causes you discomfort, think about how you can use this situation. Instead of focusing on the discomfort, ask yourself how you can learn and grow from this experience. Each challenge is an opportunity to gain deeper awareness and move closer to your true self. So don't just think about avoiding the same mistakes in the future, but also consider how you can use the present situation for your personal growth. Imagine changing your prayer. Instead of saying, "Oh God, turn this apple tree into a peach tree. Oh God, use your magic and give me a peach tree instead of this apple tree that I dislike." Try a different approach. Pray like this: "Oh God, help me overcome my allergy to apples, and if that's not possible, help me see the beauty in this apple tree. Maybe I can invite school children to come and pick apples after school or on weekends, or teach me how to make applesauce and apple pie so I can share it with others." This approach has real power. It shifts the focus from wanting to change your circumstances to finding ways to use what you have for good. Going back to the issue of losing your temper at people, that's something you need to work on. Never think, "I'm just giving them their karma." This is a clever trick of the ego. The ego takes spiritual ideas and uses them to justify your behavior, allowing you to continue acting the same way and living the same life as always. Instead, recognize that your reactions are your responsibility. The goal is to improve yourself, not to rationalize your actions. Use your challenges as opportunities to grow and become more aware, just as you would learn to see the apple tree in a new light. The ego is very clever. It takes spiritual ideas and uses them to make your usual behavior seem spiritual. For example, instead of admitting, "I lost my temper because I can't control my anger. I have issues with anger, control, and expectations, and I lose awareness," it turns into, "I lost my temper because it was your karma to be yelled at." When you catch yourself saying things like this, it's a sign to recognize the ego at work. You might say, "Okay, ego, I see what you're doing, but I'm not going to believe that." The ego is very tricky. The ego cleverly finds ways to justify actions that might otherwise be seen as wrong. It uses spiritual terms to give those actions a stamp of approval. But true spirituality means seeing through these justifications and being honest about our actions and their motivations. It's about real growth and integrity, not just rebranding our desires. Notice how we sometimes take things like losing our temper or being promiscuous, things we usually think we should work on, and give them a spiritual twist to rationalize them. By using spiritual terms, the ego tries to make these behaviors seem acceptable. We need to be really careful about this. The ego wants to keep doing what it likes, sticking to its habits, but with a spiritual explanation. The truth is, deep down, you already know what's right. You don't need me to tell you. Inside, you can sense the difference. This is where it's important to look within and sort through different voices: desire, fear, indoctrination, laziness, and our subconscious identities, and have the courage to face them. Nothing is inherently bad. Lust isn't bad. It's just a sign of ignorance, focusing on the body instead of the soul. Anger isn't bad. It's just a pattern you've fallen into, and you can work to break out of it. Recognizing these truths helps you grow and move forward. Nothing is inherently bad. There are things that bring us closer to the light and things that keep us away from it. Some things help us understand who we really are, while others distance us from that truth. There are actions that bring us closer to our soul and actions that keep us focused on the physical body. So be brave. Whoever asked this question knows deep down that they're not yelling at someone because it's the other person's karma. We all have an inner sense of right and wrong. We often tell ourselves, "I can't overcome my anger, my desires, my laziness, or my obsession with material things." Because of these thoughts, we might create a false sense of spirituality to justify our actions and feel better about them. Instead, we need to find the courage to face these issues directly. When we bring awareness and honesty to our problems, It is like shining a light on them. Once there is light, the darkness disappears. The goal of our spiritual journey is to become that light, so the darkness in our lives fades away. Thank you for listening.